one thing was for sure. They both believed Sparks to be a total tool.
Be an exciting contest which shows that divorced couples can still have fun together, right?
Mythological hero H-list. C. On the spot dice spin.
We are experiencing technical difficulties. Please stand by.
Hello and welcome to 2018 here for Game Show Garbage. Yay! Now, because of a lot of comments I've gotten on Facebook, Twitter, Discord, among other services, we have decided to expand Game Show Garbage inductions by, instead of an induction every 2 months, we're now going monthly with our inductions. So thank you for your support and all that. And because of that, we're going to do some uncharted territory for this induction. We're going to combine game shows and religion.
You've logged on to Virtual Memory, the game that challenges your Bible knowledge. Today's contestants, the hosts of JCTV's Top 3, Rich Wilkerson, Larissa Lamb, and Brendan Crouch, versus The Extreme Life, with the host of JCTV's Extreme Life, Ivan Van Buren, and two of the world's elite pro skateboarders, Rich Mulder and Anthony Carney. And now, the man who doesn't know the meaning of the word quit, or many other words, Jamie Alexander.
While it may seem like they are complete opposites, it could be tricky to meld, there haven't been any religious-based game shows atrocious enough for me to put on the site proper. As a matter of fact, a lot of them are actually quite decent. Virtual Memory, for example, has a nice melding of formats from a version of Crosswits to Pyramid to a lot of other ideas, and it works quite well. Jamie Alexander could stand to lay off the Red Bull every now and again on the show, but that's a minor quibble, since he knows how to manage the game quite well. So if we aren't talking about a religious game show, then what are we talking about? Well, it's the video series McGee and Me. McGee and Me is a video series produced by Focus on the Family, a far-right fundamentalist Christian group. In McGee and Me, a young kid named Nicholas and his animated friend McGee go through a lot of trials and tribulations, and every one of them has a moral that ties back to the Word of God. On its face, this doesn't sound like a bad concept at all for religious family videos, but a lot of times they are really ham-fisted with their message, and oftentimes come off making you feel dirty just by watching the videos. Such is the case with the second video in the series, A Star in the Breaking. In this video, the premise is that because Nick gets an overly inflated ego because he gets selected to compete on a game show. The lesson is supposed to be on humility, but it takes a very dark turn. Now, how dark of a turn, you ask? Well, let's find out. Our show begins with the overly long title sequence for Rube Goldberg device as a pencil sharpener. Clever, yes, but completely impractical. It would also be nice to get to see what the character's name is or some backstory to how him and McGee came about. Then again, this is the second tape in the series, so you don't get any explanation as to who is what. I guess you're forced to watch the first tape in order to see the backstory. The show opens proper with Nick reading his Living Hope Bible, who also helped make the show. He talks about a Bible story in Luke where Jesus tells the story of people wanting to sit at the head of the big table, and that you should take the foot of the table instead, and that you'd be blessed, or something to that effect. Basically, in terms that'd be better explained to people who aren't religious, don't be a dick to people and you'll be respected. I'll say the late 80s animation style is nice to look at, it's clearly the high point of the tape. After that, Nick is watching TV with his two sisters and something is creeping around behind the couch. It's revealed that McGee is wearing a mask to scare the family dog. That's really cute. Also, what was the point of this? Scaring the dog for a laugh? Are we supposed to think this is funny? Anyways, the host of the TV show, played by Jimmy Alec, picks Nick's card and thus he'll be a contestant on next week's show. He also even put over the drawing skills of Nick with Cartoon and McGee. Nick is thrilled to be selected and is the subject of discussion at the dinner table. The family asks if they'll be able to receive any of the prizes he would win. Subject is abruptly changed when Nick's mom gets a phone call about a job interview at a counseling office, and she's happy to have gotten it, and hopes to get her counseling career back on track after moving. So far, not too bad. But then we get some major temptations for Nick at school. Nick and his sister talk about an art project that she is given in the form of drawing an animal. She chooses a wombat and asks Nick for help. Before she can describe what a wombat is to Nick, an unnamed girl starts pumping up Nick's ego by asking if he rode a limo to school and introduces him to two girls who give him the alluring looks. That was enough to leave his sister in the dust and walk to class with three girls. And now we get to the pumping up of Nick's ego, where he is tempted by the fruit of another. Wait a minute. Is that a verse from the Bible or a Squeeze lyric? Well, it doesn't matter because everybody in this tape, except for some people, are about to hit dick mode status really quick. In class, we're treated to our bully Philip.
Where's the shades? Now, why would I hide a face like this with shades? You're right. Better give him a paper bag.
Yeah, he's a dick. Also should be said that he acts like this throughout almost the entire series. Also, we are given the classic, hilarious trope of the gym teacher being an idiot. I just find it embarrassing the gym teacher who's filling in seems like a nice guy. Later on, the principal gives Nick the rub and says that we'll all be rooting for you on Saturday. That night when Nick does go to bed, we're treated to a big animated sequence. Now, I haven't talked too much about the writing of the show. It's passable, but a lot of times it gets downright embarrassing as shown in the writing of the gym teacher and everyone else. The dream sequence is the nadir of it. The dream sequence is a fake red carpet affair of bad parodies galore. First up, we have Eugene Shallow. Okay, we get it. You look down in Hollywood and everything about it, thinking everyone is shallow, vain, having tons of impure sex, on drugs, and it's the present-day Sodom and Gomorrah rolled into one. But if you're going to parody red carpet shenanigans of the time, do someone famous for it like Joan Rivers, not Gene Shalit, who just did movie reviews. We continue the misery of an interview with a bad Rambo impersonator before we get to McGee, and a terrible green screen effect by Nick, who's shown abusing McGee and not letting his friend shine when it was the drawing of McGee that got him on the show to begin with. Well, over the course of one day, he's gone from humble to dick mode. With dick mode activated, Nick becomes unbearable and demanding of others. At home, he demands that his older sister brings him everything for breakfast. When he yells at her for not giving him a spoon, she gets a measure of revenge on him by sprinkling sugar all over him before heading to school herself. At school, a kid asks if he could get the host's autograph for her, and the bully Philip asks if he could bring some friends along. Nick proceeds to tell him no because they would hurt his image because he's bringing a bunch of kids. Nick, you are a kid. You've gushed so much about being on this game show that you're starting to act like a kid yourself. Now that you have gotten this big head, you've become even more of a child. Even more so than the bully and the other girl. So, as I said for 4 years on the score, who are you crapping? Back at the house in a mom's subplot of the job interview. She's frustrated that instead of the counselor position that she thought she would get, it turns out that all that's open is a receptionist spot. She said that she was humbled and she'll have to think about it. But back to the main plot, which has McGee asking Nick about his attire. He says it doesn't matter because he won't be on the show. McGee nails him with a paper ball and says that if it wasn't for the drawing, he wouldn't be on the show at all. Then all hell breaks loose with more paper balls being thrown at some bad animation live action mixing. I cringed while watching this segment, and my brother can attest to it. Right, Garrett?
Yes.
Little Sis wonders what's going on and asks Nick about helping her for wombat drawing. Nick says he can't because the show's tomorrow and that a wombat was a dumb choice anyways. She walks up to press, and who could blame her? Nick said earlier that he would help, but is shunning her for 15 minutes of fame. After McGee gets a good shot in, he says he's still not going in. Who needs a dumb cartoon anyway? You did because, as McGee pointed out, if it wasn't for that drawing, you wouldn't even be on the show. Once again, who are you crapping? It's the day of the taping, and Nick is still frustrated with McGee so much that he leaves him at the house. At the studio, Nick sees his opponent and an inner monologue that he states that she is a pushover and will have to hold back so it doesn't look like a massacre. I know, it's supposed to be a lesson in humility here, but you're breaking game show logic 101 in order to do so. Anytime that you go on a game show, as the fine folks that we love to interrupt always say, you play to win the game. Having Nick not play to win the game hurts the moral. Honestly, Just breaking that logic hurts this show more than it helps. It's showtime and the game show is called Trash TV. This is a subtle dig at kids' game shows being trashy at their core by the creators of this tape. Doing research to see if the leader of Focus on the Family at the time, James Dobson, would have pushed for this, and it's completely not the case. He does respect the genre of game shows, having won on Let's Make a Deal back in the 70s, so this has to be the writers doing, and this subtle jab went through. Nice job. The show starts off with Nick taking the first game and his opponent taking the second game. It seems like a normal thing so far, nothing resembling humility, but that's about to change. After the first 2 games, it's just a stream of humiliation for Nick as he proceeds to get creamed in every single game. It gets to the point where you can't help but feel sad for Nick. He's supposed to be learning humility from all this, as the Bible story implored at the beginning of the tape. Instead, he's just made to look embarrassed and really sad. It's not helped by the fact that all the audience does is point and laugh at everything on the show. I've watched enough messy kids game shows to know that they do a lot more than that. It's just made to look more like torture porn than a lesson in humility. Also, as an aside, isn't it dangerous to have the contestants climb up a slide with no railings? I'm assuming it's a plastic slide, but they can still cut themselves. Anyway, Nick loses in a rout and is super depressed about it, and when they head home, he runs to the room and has a moan. The next day, everyone at school ignores him because of how he shunned them because he thought he was hot stuff. They're supposed to be learning humility and becoming humble. This is just so blunt force that it's just super uncomfortable.
Subtlety!
What? Oh!
More subtlety!
Oh! Now, you think he'd talk to his mom about being humbled by the experience and quote a Bible verse like, the meek shall inherit the earth, or something like that. Well, to wrap up Mom's subplot, she took the humility lesson well and the receptionist job that was offered to her earlier. So there's the decent art. Expect the world, get offered something that is a small thing, feel humbled, accept, and know that's a step in the right direction. As for Nick learning the lesson of humility...
Sure. It's like I've always said, if you think you're a hotshot, watch out for game shows with chocolate.
McGee, how about if you keep making jokes so bad, watch out for a slamming sketch pad?
No. Here you go. What?
He learned nothing! A lesson that is easy to understand and done well with Mom was botched by these guys and was done miles better on the Brady Bunch. At least Cindy learned her lesson after bombing out on her game show appearance. Nick didn't, and thus his tape ends with having no lesson learned whatsoever. And that's a star in the breaking. And the tape just plain fails. It screws up its own moral, the game show stuff is completely unwatchable, and everything is just so ham-fisted and lacking subtlety that you just feel dirty watching this. It also doesn't help that everybody acts like a dick at some point, save for a few non-actors. This was dreadful. Anyway, that's it for this one. We'll see you back next month here on Game Show Garbage for the winners of our relationship game show poll on the website. Until next time, bye-bye!